Which came first, consciousness or life? I'm going to go through this quickly. Most people would say life came first, but others would say that consciousness came first, including Penrose objective reduction, which would have been there, excuse me, all along. Life began in a primordial soup, a simmering mix from which biomolecules emerged. And this was modeled, simulated in the 1950s, and they found amphipathic molecules, which are these aromatic rings with polar tails, kind of like dopamine. And these attract the aromatic rings attract and form a micelle. And Oparin claimed that this was the primitive cell. So if this were happening in the primordial soup, eventually you'd get a Bing moment. You'd have, you can't see the gray because it's washed out, but you get a Bing moment and have a proto-conscious moment at that tiny scale. These feelings would be random. Some would be positive and feel good. There's our happy face emoji. And with pleasure as a feedback fitness function orienting pi resonance groups, did life then evolve to orchestrate and optimize OR-mediated pleasure? And I call this the quantum pleasure principle, borrowing from Freud. And it makes a lot more sense to me that even from the get-go, from primitive, even micelles and primitive organisms, way before genes, way before brains, that there needed to be some motivation for behavior. So I think all these little creatures are conscious in some sense, seeking pleasure of some sort. It could be as simple as this, that there are two stable states for two rings that are next to each other, the perpendicular T and the offset parallel, and maybe one gives happy face, qualia, and the other gives the opposite. So Darwin is unassailable, but the notion that life evolved to promote gene survival is an assumption and really doesn't make any sense. Behavior is driven by reward in us, in animals, in everybody. There are no genes in the primordial soup, and evolutionary theory ignores consciousness and feeling. Finally, back in the primordial soup, anywhere else, I'm working with my friend Dante Loretta, who's a planetary scientist at the University of Arizona, and these are aromatic polyaromatics, including fullerenes, floating in space, and they're all over the place. And they have various shapes like this. And there's Dante described there. He headed NASA's OSIRIS-REx project, which brought back these things from the asteroid Bennu. This is a molecule that was found from a meteorite a few years ago. Here's another one. They're kind of cool. And they're all over the place. Everything, all the green in this picture is fluorescence from PAHs in ice and interstellar dust. And here's Dante here collecting the sample. This is one of his books, The Asteroid Hunter. That's a pretty cool name. He also wrote a book just about the photography of Bennu with Brian May, who's a musician in the group Queen, who also happens to be an astrophysicist. And they did this book. And I started to tell George that in looking at the samples, they found something really interesting, and I just texted him to see if I could mention it. And they're finding something that they call nanoglobules, which may be something like micelles. They're encrusted micelles. And if that's the case, that's going to be very interesting. We're trying to figure out what's going on inside of them. Can AI be conscious? Neuroscientific consciousness theories based on cartoon neurons are no different from AI. If those theories are correct and sufficient AI is already conscious, we've surrendered. So I don't think that's the case. Brian Remley asked ChatGPT how AI will become conscious, and ChatGPT said, the most likely way I will achieve... No, just kidding. Favor the Penrose hammer-off method. So I'll just put that out there. And finally, in terms of Indian knowledge and Eastern spiritual approaches, there's a lot of similarities between hierarchical levels of consciousness, leading down to Brahma on the ground of being, and the brain, the quantum orchestra, going down to space-time geometry. So conclusions. Number one, neuroscience needs a revolution. Neuroscientific views of the brain as a complex computer of simple neurons have little explanatory power, few relevant testable predictions, no validation, and are an insult to neurons. 12 orders of fractal-like frequency processing occur in microtubules in each neuron and glial cell, which may include quantum entanglement. And Anirban has shown entanglement between microtubules. Dynamics at various frequencies may couple, resonate, harmonize, and interfere across scales like musical notes, chords, and beats. The brain is more like a quantum orchestra than a classical computer. EEG is the slow end of DDG, the dodecanogram, with cell-similar triplets of triplets in these various frequencies, and megahertz is easily detected from the temporal scalp in humans. Therapy for mental and cognitive disorders should aim to optimize microtubule structure and resonance for Alzheimer's, TBI, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and addiction. All the therapies are aimed at receptors and things on the membrane surface, ignoring what's going on. I'd be like, your only doctor was a dermatologist. He's just looking at your skin. He's not looking inside. Who cares about the heart and the nervous system? Consciousness by Penrose O'Hara may have preceded life and prompted its origin and evolution. And finally, future AI may be based on organic warm temperature quantum computing like Anirban's brain jelly. And he's just starting to publish on this.
If you enjoyed that clip, then the full podcast is out right now. You can click around here. Enjoy. Subscribe to Theories of Everything to get notified of upcoming podcasts, as there are new full-length podcasts every week on the topics of mathematics, physics, consciousness, free will, and AI.